What's up? It's the guy from Assassin's Creed Revelation. Just kidding, it's Sam Adams, and tonight we're going to be talking about company loyalty, a subject that's been on my mind a lot lately, and I'll tell you why. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So next week is Black Friday, and I'm going to be purchasing an Xbox One. PlayStation 4 is an amazing console, but it just seems like if I want to get the full scope of the video game industry as it is in today's current standings, I need to get the other major console, and hopefully a Wii U eventually, but that's further down the road. So next week I'm buying an Xbox One, and I just thought, last week I was really hardcore into PlayStation fanboying. I was really supportive of PlayStation 4, never going to buy an Xbox One, and now with the price drop and all of the different games coming out for it, I think I'm going to experiment a little bit. So I thought, what makes company loyalty? And I think there are 4 different kinds of people that make up the company loyalty fan base. First off, you've got the people that think a certain company makes a higher quality of console. For example, everything on PS4 for the most part runs in 1080p 60 frames a second. Don't quote me on that, but it just seems like Xbox One has this idea of 900p definition around the console itself, and a lot of people in YouTube comments especially will fanboy and say that, you know, Sony PlayStation 4 is the console master race. I mean, PC is obviously the maximum it's going to get, but as far as Xbox One versus PlayStation 4 go, a lot of people are going to fight for the hardware of the PlayStation 4, and that's one kind of console devotee, one kind of company loyalty guy who always says that one company will have better hardware. Next up are those people that grew up with a certain type of console. For example, I have a friend who played tons of Halo as a kid. He knows exactly who he is. He's probably watching this video as it's being uploaded right now. But there's this guy I know that played tons of Halo as a kid. He knows all about it. And so he is going to always have an Xbox One probably, or an Xbox of some kind. He's just grown up on Microsoft. For me personally, I grew up on Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper. Primarily Jak and Daxter and Sly Cooper, actually the Ratchet and Clank series, almost all of which were on PlayStation exclusively. And I also have always played God of War. I've always played Killzone games. I've always played Infamous since the first Infamous. And it just seems like I grew up playing PlayStation, which is why it doesn't matter what console I'm on in my heart, I will always have a connection to the PlayStation brand. And that's just something that we can't really get away from. And I mean, even today, I look down and I have, let's see, Metal Gear Solid came out as a timed exclusive to The Last of Us, and I've got a whole bunch of other different games that, well, I had a whole bunch of different games on the PlayStation 3 that were exclusives, but it just seems like no matter what you play on at the moment, whatever you played on as a child, you're going to have a connection to. That's why middle-aged people that play today will always say the NES was the best console, or, you know, the equivalent of what they played on, because they played on as a kid, and as a child you tend to develop stronger memories, and those just stick with you for a longer time. Next up, you've got the people that say a certain company has better exclusive games. What I mean is that some people will say Nintendo is the best because of Legend of Zelda, Mario, Donkey Kong, all of those games, which are all amazing games. Then you've got Sony, which has Uncharted, Killzone, Infamous, like I said before, amongst a handful of others. The Pixel Junk Shooter series, I believe, is a console exclusive. Don't quote me on that. But PlayStation does tend to have a lot of console exclusives. But of course, Microsoft has Halo. Halo doesn't have Microsoft. Microsoft has Halo, and that's a big selling point for a lot of gamers just because it's one of the most popular gaming franchises that has ever been made. Microsoft obviously also is expanding with Sunset Overdrive and other games. Dead Rising series tends to be a timed exclusive kind of thing, though Dead Rising 3 was only on Xbox One. And they also have Forza. So Forza is obviously the leading racing game, and then PlayStation has Gran Turismo. Forza I think is a little bit better, but that's a topic for a different day. People will argue a company's superiority to another company based on what games come out, and some of these points are arguably valid. Halo is an amazing franchise, and a lot of people like Microsoft for that reason. Killzone, Infamous, these are all. Uncharted is one of the best games I've ever played. The only reason I'm keeping my PlayStation 4 whenever I get an Xbox next week is because Uncharted 4 is coming out for it. And I'm extremely excited about that. So those are the other kinds of people that say that a company has superiority based on what games they have. And then finally we have those who feel like they want to belong to something. This is a smaller group, I think. But I see this group of people as the stereotypical World of Warcraft guy. And what I mean by this is that there's a certain group of people amongst the gamers that don't belong to anything. If you're in high school, you obviously have a clique. If you're in college, you probably have a group of friends. If you work in an office, you probably have a group of friends. There are some people that don't have any friends or any purpose in life, and gaming is their only escape from anything and the only thing that they do. So in order to make them feel like they're a part of something, they like to get involved in something. So that can infest itself in becoming really into Microsoft or really into Sony or really into Nintendo. And it seems that these people can be kind of hostile at some times. A lot of people are in the Reddit comments, forums. This is where those kind of people are. These are the hardcore players. And I'm not saying that all hardcore players are like this, and I'm not saying that the majority of players are like this, but it is worth noting that some of these kind of people exist that make their identity into a company. And obviously that is the major, like, hugely in-depth version of company loyalty, and one of the parts of it that a lot of people don't enjoy. Company loyalty should be more of a thing where it's just like, I like those guys a lot, and instead of I only buy things from this guy. The way I see it, if you want to get the most out of the video game industry in today's time, you're going to have to experience all of the different kinds of consoles that you can. This doesn't mean that I'm saying you have to go out and buy each individual console. I happen to be a lucky one that can have both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. That's just the situation that I've been put in. But if you have a PlayStation 4, or even, let's take it back, if you have an Xbox 360, you can play Destiny on that, you can play a whole bunch of games on that, and hopefully you have friends or, people that you know that you can go over and say, hey dude, let me check out your infamous Second Son on your PlayStation 4. I can play Forza Horizon 2 on your Xbox One. You just have to go out and experience this stuff. It can be as small as playing a demo on a kiosk. The key point that I'm trying to make here is that we live in a day and time where video games are becoming more and more prominent and more are coming out, and it's hard to keep up with it, and it's hard to really take in everything that's happening if you only have one of these consoles. So basically what I'm saying is, before you live the future, before we get to the future, it's important to take a look around and be like, what came out today and what's being played today, and I need to experience that in some form. That's why sharing games is really popular, and I'm glad that they changed the DRM situation before the consoles came out last year. If you aren't aware, the Xbox One was going to be restricted to where you could not play borrowed games. Like if you wanted to play Dead Rising 3 and you borrowed it from a friend, you aren't allowed to play it on the console. They reversed that, thankfully. And I'm grateful for that, because that lets us experience all of these games that we want to experience just by having acquaintances or friends that also own the games. So there you guys have it. That's my take on company loyalty. I think that it can be a good thing, but it can get out of hand. If you've enjoyed this video, please drop me a like down below. Comment what you think about company loyalty, and if you're loyal to any certain company. Like I said, I'm always going to have a connection to Sony, but I'm not always dead set on what Sony has, although I do go through phases where I'm a pretty hardcore Sony fanboy. But like I said, drop it down in the comments below, and if you get a second, head over to my channel and check out some of my other content. I post a lot of videos, and I almost guarantee that there's something else that you will like. I try really hard to bring high quality content to you guys, and I love it when you check it out. And as always, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.